Hello, this is Alex at the stadium. Today is Saturday, May 30th, 2020, and I'm going to be talking a little bit today about some area control games that, and about the application of themes within them. So I have here War of the Ring, which is big, large box, giant thing. Lots and lots of miniatures, cards, everything. Huge map. And this is a war game based, of course, on Lord of the Rings. And it's for was it 2 to 4? Yep, 2 to 4 players. Generally speaking, you want to play this at 2, where one player is the Free Peoples and the other player is the Forces of Sauron and everything. Or you want to play it at 4, just because when one player is controlling multiple factions on the Free Peoples, it gets a little weird. So everything about this game is just dripping with theme and flavor. So the object of the game is to get the Fellowship from Rivendell to Mount Doom, and then get the ring into the volcano. Pretty simple concept, where the location of the Fellowship is initially hidden from Sauron's forces, but then there's other armies that are moving around the map and stuff that are quite visible. And the each kingdom, essentially. So you can have dwarves, you can have men, you can have elves, all of these different things and factions and stuff. They all behave a little bit differently in some regard, and they each kind of have their own areas. And then there are these event cards that can be used either when they say they can be used or in combat or various different timings. And they do different things, and they're reflective of events within the game, within the story. And that also goes back and forth both ways. There's an interesting dice mechanic where basically you want to push resistance to corruption from the ring and from Sauron against being able to actually advance your goals, and that's very much a concept within the story. There's so many things that are just references that work out both mechanically and artistically and flavor and writing and stuff to tie all in as Lord of the Rings. This is one of my favorite examples of designing a game from the ground up with the theme and flavor and source material in mind, not only in the visuals but also mechanically. So that's War of the Ring, but then there's a different area control game. We have Terra Mystica. Both of these, both War of the Ring and Terra Mystica, are asymmetrically balanced area control games where, although Terra Mystica also a little bit worker placement, but also area control, just in a different way. Instead of deploying troops and then using cards for events and stuff like that, you're deploying things through more so through worker placement and economy management and stuff like that. But and there's lots of victory point tracks. But so each faction kind of has its own strengths and weaknesses and some other stuff that it can do. And there's technically a story reason that these different factions exist. Each one has its own background and stuff like that. But ultimately, the mechanical differences are more so just different strengths and weaknesses, and they don't really tie in a whole lot for most of them to the backgrounds of each faction. The flavor here is present in the art, and with this magical fantasy sort of magical terraforming kind of concept. It's all present there, flavor-wise, in the art, in the components, and things like that. But with the actual mechanical design, other than the idea that you're doing terraforming, there's not much there. And there's proof of this because there's also Gaia Project, which is basically all those same ideas as sci-fi. So obviously the theme itself can be whatever you want it to be, as long as you're still doing some form of terraforming. So that's not to say anything bad about Terra Mystica or Gaia Project. They're both wonderful, wonderful games that have huge replayability. The asymmetrical balance is fantastic. And it's a wonderful, thinky, crunchy game that you can play over and over and over and have it feel like a totally different game every time. So that's not to say anything bad about it mechanically. It's just that the theme isn't so strongly tied in as it is with, for example, War of the Ring. So my question today for everyone is how important is the connection of the theme and flavor into the mechanics, not just the components and art and things of that nature, but into the actual mechanics of the gameplay to you. So like, for example, well, let's talk about some abstract strategy stuff. Goblet. You cover up smaller pieces with bigger pieces, and you try to get 4 in a row and win the game. There's no flavor there. It's very fun, surprisingly very strategic, despite the simplicity, but not a lot of flavor. Whereas, for example, chess, actually there is quite a bit of flavor behind the mechanics of chess. It makes sense that knights can move in these erratic patterns and jump over other units. It makes sense that pawns have very limited movement options. It makes sense that the queen is able to stride across the battlefield and do almost whatever she wants. And it makes sense that the king, if that falls, you destroy the royalty, then the kingdom has no leadership. But so you can still have good games without having this strong thematic connection, but to some people it's really important to have the thematic connection because they want to feel like they're really involved in this game and really almost doing these things. So what do you think about that, and what are your preferences? That's me for today. I will see you tomorrow, and I hope you all have a splendid rest of your day.